Now I feel old. My first day,
Nice.
and I had my blood drawn. So I filled out all 3 on my cards. I said, here you go.
Do it. Grab a knife. Oh, you're old. Oh, my text.
I know.
Because you pulled somebody over.
I didn't know they started like the first day of the month of your 65th birthday. So really I have 3 weeks yet, but yeah, I'm still feeling pretty spry. but give me 3 weeks and I might develop a little backache.
Why do you do that to her? That's the only way she can exist. I literally texted him as I was passing him, like, you're doing the Lord's work.
If you want to just hang on to it until it's all over and done, then you can turn it in. But if it's like, hey, this is financially strapping me, then
Final, you know, because
okay.
it's the last.
Okay. Yeah, we have this. There's a reimbursement form that we send out usually after those big conferences, just as reminders. So we submit that. So we pay for travel, lodging, and any meals that aren't provided by the conference. It's a federal mileage rate. So down and back, and then but we don't cover all your incident all
Fun.
around town. If you're going to the mall or
Yeah,
Zion
spitting image.
or something, but yeah, down and back we cover. And then
The only one we're missing is a little peek. I asked her
and then
to put
for
the.
meals that aren't part of the conference, so if your hotel provides a hot breakfast,
Hopefully the horse people
okay,
won't.
so if it provides a hot breakfast, then we don't cover breakfast.
Get this without a reflection.
Most of the days they have a lunch, and then one of the nights is a dinner, and so a lot of those are covered, but any that aren't, you can submit for those too. Okay, yeah. Yeah.
We are here to help her get through what can we do.
Stop by to see if there's any assistance.
But it's all based on the test. These are massive.
Okay.
And I don't know what they did, but because they have a testing center that you could use for.
All right, are
We're
we ready to
go.
start?
Yep.
All right, call to order here. Let's get started.
Oh, you would be great.
I'd like to welcome everyone here this afternoon. I'm Mayor Carolyn Lundberg here presiding over the Lindon City Council meeting here dated here this beginning of April 2024. We are nearly all here in attendance. Are we expecting Councilmember Hoyt to be coming shortly?
You know, he mentioned when we
Spring
asked a
break
couple
might
weeks
be-
ago that he was unsure, and I haven't heard from him since,
Okay.
so. I
No
think
worries,
We move
no worries.
forward
We
and
have
see
a
what
quorum.
happens.
We're great. All right, we will start off this evening with an invocation by Councilmember Van Broderick, followed by a pledge of allegiance offered by our own Alan Walker. Thank you very much.
Our Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the many blessings Thou hast given us, grateful for this beautiful time of year, grateful for the moisture that we have been receiving, and we'd ask you Thou would continue to bless us with the appropriate amounts of moisture in the right places in the right times. We're grateful for this wonderful community that we live in, for the good people that live here. We bless them in their lives, that they can be successful in the things that they're doing. We're grateful that we can meet tonight in this Lindon City Council meeting. We invite Thy Spirit to be with us, that we can make sure that we know and understand the things being discussed and be able to make good decisions for our city. We are grateful for all of our city employees and our first responders, grateful for their service on our behalf. Please bless and be with them and their families. Again, we're grateful for all that we have, and say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Stand and repeat the pledge after me. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so very much. You make a good scout. Okay. All right, let's do our roll call here. And I'll start on my left, and Councilmember Hoyt can sprint to his chair and make it just in time.
Cole Hooley, present.
Van Broderick, present.
Lincoln Jacobs, present.
Carolyn Lundberg, present.
Steve Stewart, present.
Jake Hoyt, present.
Perfect. Perfect timing, sliding right in there. All right, we are all here tonight. So that moves us to item number 2. This is presentations and announcements. And I do have something here to announce really quickly on this segment of our agenda tonight. So we have a new statement here from the Lindon City. As a city deeply rooted in tradition, Lindon has a proud heritage of community engagement, cultural richness, and strong family values that we are celebrating in our centennial year of 2024. Lindon is also a city that not only celebrates its past, but also looks toward the future with optimism and innovation, embracing new opportunities for growth, sustaining a vibrant community spirit, and sending a forward-thinking vision for the future. With this spirit in mind, Lindon City is excited to announce an update to our city motto, where tradition can meet tomorrow, and reflect our commitment to honoring the past while embracing the opportunities and challenges of tomorrow. Lindon Days is gearing up to be an electrifying experience as it proudly announces the legendary sibling duo, Donnie and Marie Osmond, who will headline this year's festivities as we celebrate our new city motto for the next century: a little bit of country and a little bit of rock and roll. We are thrilled that these icons in the music industry will be taking the stage for an unforgettable performance. Their dynamic energy and timeless hits perfectly encapsulate our new motto and centennial celebration. We invite all in the community to come together as our new motto is proudly displayed: a little bit of country and a little bit of rock and roll on official city communications, signage, public art, promotional materials, serving as a reminder of Lindon's unique identity and its ongoing journey towards a bright and promising future.
Bravo.
How did you pull this off?
Hey, didn't you know? You know, Mayor pulled the trigger. New motto. All right, here we go. Any other announcements, presentations by council for item number 2? Fantastic. Okay, we'll move on to item number 3. This is our open session for public comments. Anything not listed on the agenda this evening? All right, seeing none here wishing to make a public comment, we'll move forward to item number 4. This is our council reports. And whichever end here would like to kick us off, that would be great. You feel ready here, Jake?
Not a ton of updates. Attended the Lindon City Easter egg hunt. Well done to both of you. It was hilarious because it started a little bit early. And once you start, you can't put it back in the box. That was so funny. And it was, you know, I had a son in the group that started early, and it was a toddler ran out. The mother darted out to go get the toddler, and those kids saw that lady dart, and it was like, oh, it's on.
Oh, no.
And my son dove on the giant egg. He was so proud of it, and that's so fun. Great job. I appreciate that. Really loved the idea on the citywide, the large ones. We went and looked for a few and then saw the updates. Really cool, and I think let's expand upon that because I think that people liked it, and I think more people did it than maybe you will know. We were down in the city center, in fact, just off the hill here, the one that you hid in that. We thought, oh, we know where that is. And we saw 3 or 4 other families come while we went to that one. So I don't know what type of response you heard from that, but I think a lot of people did that, and I think that could be a really fun tradition moving forward, especially the more people know about it. So
Really huge. Tons of people out looking. So
Yeah.
That's been the biggest request.
I think do 20, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
seriously.
put them all over and
Make some really hard ones.
yeah.
No, I thought they were hard.
I thought they were so hard. It was so funny because I grew up next to Creekside Park. That is my park. And as I looked at all the pictures, I said, none of those are Creekside, I'm positive. And there was one, and my kids were so mad at me. They're like, you said not to go to Creekside. Anyways, great job. A few updates from the PD. Always appreciate what they're doing. Our newest officer will be graduating with a law enforcement certificate April 25th, and he'll be sworn in at a future council meeting. So we're looking pretty good, pretty full. PD's always busy. Appreciate all they do, and that's all I've got.
Okay, I would just remind anybody viewing these proceedings or who might read the minutes later that April 12th is our deadline for youth council applications. It's coming up soon, and that's all I have.
All right, thank you. All right, go
Oh,
ahead,
wow.
Lincoln.
North Point Solid Waste attended their board meeting this last week, and we had a discussion that we need to have a discussion about the property to the north. We did not have that discussion, but talking about further expansions and how it's going to play into the Vineyard Connector, they just brought that up. Pointed out that the North Point Solid Waste website has cameras that show on their front page website. I reached out to Adam, and he passed on to Brittany a request to get their website linked from our website. Thank you, Adam. Planning Commission attended a meeting there. We will be having that item on our next city council agendas. Briefly had a chat with Heath. We do need to get our grand marshal for our parade. I don't know what to do with a little bit of country and a little bit of rock and roll. and I hook, line, and sinker. And Van said, or April Fool's, and so now I'm confused. I don't know, but Grand Marshal, the centennial of the year, so I don't know if we find people that are 100 years old, if we find people whose parents were here before, but a discussion we need to have so that they can get moving forward. I was out of town. I missed the Easter egg hunt. Thank you, Jake, for giving the update. I heard about the children rush. Hopefully everybody just enjoyed laughing at that. He sent me an email. I chose to shower because my flight just came in rather than read it. Heath, I don't know if there's anything you had in there that you want to bring up?
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple of things that we're real proud of. Not only did our staff and the city in general put on a great puzzle event for the birthday, but I thought a couple of things were remarkable. We have 1,000 kids starting soccer in 2 weeks on Saturday, and we had 1,250 kids in junior jazz, and that's bigger than we've ever been. So we continue to gather people from nearby cities as well and participate with us, and so I'm just over the moon about what our staff has done. Our new pool manager, Harley Dunn, started Saturday officially as a full-timer. She's been with us 6 or 7 years at the pool in various positions from cashier to assistant manager. So she's really excited to get started. She got her school done and she's graduated. So, and then we were able to find a full-time parks employee to get hired too. And he'll be starting next Monday. So we're really excited as we go into spring. That's about it, I think.
Thank you, Heath. Loved the celebration. That was so cool. The puzzle thing, fantastic. Talking with some of the neighbors that got them, super fun. My kids, it was so fun to see them as they looked at it. So thanks for a great night and great puzzle experience.
Thank you.
I'd like to give you some updates on public works projects going around the city. The PRA connection, and these are from Juan, gave me the update. The PRA connection, just waiting for Rocky Mountain Power to do their connections there, and so excited that because I drive by it every day, multiple times, that has come together and looks good. As you know, there are lots of projects going on. The Center Street project, the connection to the center and well number 4 should be done about April 15th. then road patching. That'd probably be the question you're gonna get if you live on that east side, but road patching kinda comes as soon as there's good weather, and the asphalt plants really do open up and get rolling. They are hoping on the Canal Drive project, that all the pipe work's been completed, the concrete work's wrapping up. And Geneva Rock is planning to start roughly April 8th, shaping the roads and getting ready for paving. So lots of other updates there, lots of things going on. I appreciate Juan giving me the updates on where that's at. A lot of action going on. When you drive on the east side, there's lots of road work and pipe work, and so thank you to all of the citizens for being patient as we try to make these very needed improvements to the city.
Okay, for the communities that care and the Centennial, the next event is April 13th. So it's a Saturday from 9 until 11. It's the Healthy Lindon kickoff. So there will be a lot of booths and events, guest speakers cycling through a period of time. They'll get a packet to help them train for the 5K and the Healthy Lindon Tri. That will be later on in the fall. So that's coming up. That'll be great. That's at the community center. And then the CTC is also co-sponsoring a teen and tech. So it's creating a tech healthy family. So there'll be a speaker coming to Timpanogos High School. There's a dinner for families at 6. There's child care for children 4 to 11. And then teens and their parents can attend a speaker. So that's communities that care and part of the Centennial. The other part of the Centennial is the 1,000-piece puzzles are sold out. There's still plenty of 500-piece and 300-piece. And then the Historical Commission, we have an agenda item to bolster their numbers. And then with the tree board, May 3rd is the Arbor Day celebration. And Heath, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounded like they've landed on a location for planting the Arbor Day near the round pavilion behind the City Hall, next to the trail on the pool side. Unless there's a strong feeling otherwise, that's what they'll go for. And so far, there have been 594 trees or large shrubs planted towards our goal, so around 400 more. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much. Great reports there. I just wanted to let staff know the Model A Club, the contact there, he spoke with me this week. They're aware of our Centennial. They get called out to do a lot of different parades through the summer, but they would love to block out for our parade. He said they could use all the Model A's plus all the other cars, collector cars, if we wanted to have additional centenarians or veterans or previous dignitaries within the community that have served to be in the parade. Would love to connect with you all and get an idea of how many vehicles you might want them to bring in and reserve for our parade. All right, and then, yes, a lot of people have been asking about the puzzles, and I know even the 500s are getting closer to being sold out. So I've had people in the community asking if there will be another run of manufacture of puzzles in time for Christmas. I think a lot of people would like to make them as a gift, and I anticipate we're already out of the 1,000, maybe another size as well, so.
Yeah, last Alan let us know, we still had like 1,300 of the 500 pieces.
Okay.
So
Was it the three?
Yeah,
How many of the 300?
The 300,
The
there's
300 were nearly-
132, right?
Those ones are getting lower.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
April, come by.
through this summer and then Linden Days, and then we'll see where we're at. And
Right. Some folks were asking if there would be inventory by Christmas.
As
so-
I recall, Eric said the minimum order was 2,500, so we would have to be pretty certain that we'd sell another 2,500. And
Okay, we can check on that.
What we've seen in a lot of other cities is they are deeply discounting all of the puzzles they have left that they hadn't sold, and so almost at cost. So we just probably need to be careful about that.
Okay. All right, and then this last week I attended a meeting where city leaders were invited to come and meet with ASD and just come together informally. As you all know, there's 6 options that MGT has presented, ranging from ASD Alpine School District staying complete to 5 other options of different splits, 2 or 3 ways. And so it's a big topic. MGT apparently is going to present recommendation to their board, and then their board will make a decision if they want to put something on the as a ballot initiative. Which of those, there's been talk and stirrings that also the new legislation that just passed this last session that allows other interlocal groups to come forward and maybe start their own ballot initiative. Some talk that maybe there might be some other cities to the west. It's just rumors right now. I don't have anything confirmed, but anyway, a lot of momentum and movement. That's going to be probably something at some point we might want to discuss formally as we see what momentum is happening, what's kind of going forward. Certainly, it was interesting to me to see that in every iteration, it was at a minimum, our community was kind of tagged with this, with Orem and Vineyard as a group in every situation. So I didn't feel like we were getting pushed or pulled one way or the other in any of the reconfigurations. It was either 3 or more with Lindon. So just interesting. We'll kind of watch and see how that goes. But it's a topic that a lot of people talk to me about, and probably you all as well in the community. And we'll see what happens with
They have a date when they expected to make their recommendation, did you say?
It's their next meeting, I believe, in April. So apologize, I don't have that right here off the top of my head or written down. You could probably look that up. All right. And now we'll turn the time over to our administrator's report.
Just an FYI, Brittany is homesick tonight, but she is watching online, and so there's some cookies there if you want to pass those back and forth. And if you'll just make sure and get close to your mic so that we can have a good recording for that. So, in addition to some of those dates there, I sent out an email today about April 24th at 8 a.m. at the fire station. We're going to have this employee breakfast and then take a big group photo. We wanted to invite you guys to that as well. And we've invited all the firefighters that are at the station and all of our planning commissioners and everybody. So, and if you'll bring your blue Centennial t-shirts, we're going to have some of those available for all the employees. And Heath, while you're here, if you'll make a note, I just want to double check with you that we got sufficient of that. Okay. Let's see, and then also that very next day, April 25th at 3 o'clock, this joint Lindon and Orem council meeting. Nothing specific on the agenda. This is just discuss matters of common interest. And so I expect the school district's likely to come up. I don't know if there's enough information has risen to the top of Orem and the fire station discussion, but we do have Chief, I almost said Gurney, Chief Sanderson scheduled to come to our next meeting on the 15th and give you a presentation about those items on the fire department. So then Mike asked if I would bring up with you and just get a general feedback. The Planning Commission, there's a couple individuals that felt more interested than others. And Lincoln, if you're there, maybe you can weigh in on this, about wanting to come up with some sort of planned development ordinance for residential zones that would allow smaller private streets. I think in general, from what I understood with Mike, is a couple of these individuals may want to spend more time than others on the Planning Commission. He wanted to get your general thoughts. Is that anything, just as a quick blush, the City Council is interested in the Planning Commission spending time on? And essentially this is probably a little bit higher density, smaller private roadways in half-acre lot areas. Is that anything that you would be interested in the Planning Commission spending time on?
Higher density in the half-acre lots?
I think that is where that is headed.
No, thank
Absolutely
you.
not.
No.
Okay, I think that
Not
was
at all.
pretty easy then.
Is there a
So,
particular developer or proposal that is tickling that topic? and
a
wanting-
couple planning commissioners that have some acreage that they would like to develop. That
And
they
they
were
want to do
curious.
smaller streets.
I would say that's probably what's triggering that, so.
They did want to have a few discussions. There were some who said that it's been a while since they've talked to the city council, and they thought maybe meeting with us, just having discussion, getting to know us, understanding how we felt about certain things. They did talk briefly about private roadways that would go into areas that might or may or may not have flag lot kind of feel. I didn't sense that when I was here that anyone specifically had something. Maybe I didn't know how to read that, but there was some
Yeah.
discussions they wanted
That
to
brings
have.
up a good point. You know, when I first got elected, one of the things that we started doing, I asked staff to maybe bring planning commission and council together periodically, just because some of them felt like they didn't feel fully connected into kind of our vibe and our vision on certain things. And not that we are dictating to them to be a Me Too body. They certainly can have independent thought and perspective on what they're recommending or not recommending up to us. But I think it is helpful now that we have 3 new council members for us to have that esprit de corps with them and maybe just talk about some of the bigger vision kind of type things, or maybe even some specific issues. Maybe it would be timely to schedule something again between the 2 bodies that could be comfortable and casual to chat about things. Certainly some of them, and always there's a couple new ones, you know, when people are new, it's always great to, you know, have perspective, like, why is this way and why is it not that way? And, you know, maybe we could even just have a topic of why is it that we've preferred certain infrastructure or not in regards to, you know, that's a perfect example, the private roads. I know there's a certain perspective that I'm understanding why private roads haven't been encouraged generally. Certainly there's that new legislation that now dictates that the road can be narrower than what we've traditionally done before already. So it's already less than what we used to require. So, you know, maybe staff could provide us information on that as a topic in that meeting. Okay.
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, and then, the spring cleanup, Adam, you probably want to touch on that because the dumpsters are coming out this Saturday.
Yeah, the dates are in our newsletter, and I have something planned to post this week as a reminder on that on social media, so.
Yeah, the dumpsters will be available. I just looked at this today.
It runs for about 10 days.
Now, in the past, sometimes when they got completely full, we did have them
They-
taken and,
They come every day.
Every day, okay.
Except Sundays, and sometimes in those first few days, they will dump it up to 3 times. And
my
so,
goodness.
they usually overflow within about 45 minutes on that first day, and so.
We just ask that the public not bring stuff and pile it around on the ground. We've had trouble with that before the dumpster was full, so they just left things on the ground. And of course, nothing that has chemicals or paint or tires, you know, kind of toxic materials. I was noticing there is a place that, coming up, that you can take kind of toxic fluids and whatnot for free coming up. And maybe we could post that in conjunction for people that have those types of things. I believe I saw that in the newsletter as well. There's a household hazardous waste collection day for residents of Utah County. And so the Utah County Health has a phone number you can call and bring those there. Great, okay. All right, we'll move on here. Let's go on to item number 6. This is the approval of the minutes from March 18th, 2024. Council, if you've had a moment to look at those, if you have any changes or additions.
I don't have any changes.
All right,
Wow, I take off the glasses and. I make a motion to approve the minutes of the city council meeting from March 18th, 2024.
I second it.
all right, we have a motion by Councilmember Broderick, seconded by Councilmember Jacobs. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? It is unanimous. Minutes are approved. Okay, item number 7 on consent agenda. We do have a couple things here. These are somewhat housekeeping motions that do not require public comment. So I'll turn this over to staff again.
So we had 3 of these couples were names that were brought up to you a few meetings ago for possible appointments to the Historical Commission. The mayor talked with these individuals and they're willing to serve, and so these are just official actions by the city council to appoint these couples to the Historical Commission. And then also the Municipal Wastewater Planning Program. This is a report that the state requires that the city council has to have reviewed, and it's submitted. This is red tape bureaucracy is all of this is. And so it's the state wanting your blessing that you've actually seen this report. So we have a resolution that says you've seen it, and then we mail it in, and this happens every year. So.
All right, great. And all of those individuals are very excited to serve, and I think will bring a lot of great energy and perspective to the Historic Preservation Commission. And, you know, there's a lot that they can really chew on. I know the current committee is really excited with new ideas, and the more the better with that.
Great group. I'm ready to make a motion. I'll move to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Hoyt, seconded by Councilmember Broderick. Any further comments or discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, wonderful. We look forward to letting those individuals know. Let's go ahead and just say their names. We have the Jorgensens. We'll go
Have,
for the record here.
let me go back to that page here. So we've got Mike and Rhonda Van Cherry, Mike and Jill Jorgensen, and Jerry and Rebecca Hinckley.
Wonderful. We really look forward to having them serve. Okay, then that brings us to item number 8. This is a discussion item regarding contributions to URS, which is the pension program through the state. And we'll have staff go ahead and provide some information about some changes that were made to the Utah retirement systems.
So in this last session, there were some bills that were floated past the legislature by the Utah retirement systems, and one of them did not pass, which then requires all cities to make up some differences in Tier 2 employee pension plans. Just as a little bit of background, so most public employees in the state, there's over 100,000 employees that are from school districts, state, county, municipal, state universities, any of those, some special service districts. They participate in the Utah retirement system and have either 401k money or pension in that state system. In 2011, there was some challenges after that Great Recession to fully fund the state pension program, and they created a Tier 2 subset that any new employees that were starting in the system after 2011 had. Essentially, to make it simple, it's a lesser benefit, and it extended their retirement date out a couple years further than the Tier 1 group. So anybody that was in the system prior to 2011 is a Tier 1. Anybody after 2011 is Tier 2. Years ago, decades ago, participating employers like the city were required to either opt in or opt out of URS. And so we are committed through contractual agreements that were made decades ago to participate in the Utah retirement system. And we're locked into that. That's not something we can get out of. And so otherwise that pension system is in jeopardy. And so a few years ago, after there was some substantial increases in the public safety subset, and let me back up, on the Tier 1 and the Tier 2, for non-public safety employees, there's a longer retirement threshold. It's 30, or now I think for Tier 2, 34 years. Does that sound right? Are you a Tier 1 or 2? 2? Do you know? 30, I think it's 34 years. Yeah, so for public safety employees, they're able to retire for Tier 1 after 20 years, and there's a lot of reasons and basis for that. The Tier 2, they have a couple more years there, and so there's, within those programs, Tier 1 and 2, there's a subset for public safety employees. Since they have a shorter retirement window, the contribution that the city has to make for public safety is higher. It's a higher percentage, so that they can build up those funds faster in a shorter time frame. In 2020, there was a projected shortfall for those public safety employees' pension fund, and so the city opted to what's referred to as pick up those additional costs instead of making the employee contribute anything from their own paycheck. So in 2020, we passed a resolution as the city that we were going to cover that increase that URS needed to make those pension funds whole. A similar thing is occurring now with non-public safety employees and public safety employees in the Tier 2 system. So what the state has done, they didn't pass a bill that would have allowed the city to, just like we did in 2020, to pick up this additional cost. Since it didn't pass, there is a shortfall for non-public safety employees of 0.7% that would need to be contributed to the URS pension system from the employee's paycheck. So what I think a lot of employees will perceive this as is a pay cut. And so this is not anything to do with COLA. This isn't a raise or a merit increase. This is the pension plan has a shortfall, and because this legislation didn't pass, we are required to take it out of their paycheck. For public safety employees, there's also an additional shortfall of 2.14% for the Tier 2, and that is allowed to be picked up by the city without going through the employee's paycheck. So if we choose to do that. So before you get too excited about how much is this going to cost us, let me show you what's happening here. In the Tier 1 plan, there's actually a decrease projected, and so it's more than funded, and they are decreasing the city's contribution rates on Tier 1. So in the end, with these changes, if the city were to pick up the shortfall in Tier 2's public safety and the Tier 2 non-public safety, and then when you factor in the decrease for the Tier 1 employees' contribution, we are actually saving $1,473 this next fiscal year. So in the end, this doesn't harm the city if we were to choose to pick up this cost and cover it. What most entities are doing, including the state of Utah, with that 0.7% that's being required to be picked up by the employee. If the employer does not elect to do that, the state actually, if I can jump back to our slides here, the state passed a bill to increase state wages, if I get to the right one here, 0.7%. And so there was a question that was asked in this is all happening fast because the session here just ended a couple weeks ago, as you know. There it is. So this bill, HB3, SB 8 and HB 3, the state approved a 3% market increase for all state employees. They are funding the health and dental, and then this right here, 0.7% salary enhancement for state employees who are Tier 2. And then the 2.14 enhancement for public safety. So interestingly, I mean, the question was asked, well, why didn't they just pass this bill that allowed entities to pick up that 0.7% for non-public safety? And they said there was a general feeling from the state legislators that were involved that wages should increase versus benefit increasing. Yet there were some laws and rules that they didn't quite understand that are in the URS system that prohibited these increases to be made by cities and go directly into the pension system. So it sounds like it was a bit of a mix-up. There could be legislation in future years that allows this to change, where we don't have to have this come out of the salaries or the paychecks of employees, but kind of a complicated system. So
So what, similar to what the state's proposing, this is just a discussion item tonight, no action that you have to take. I just want to give you a heads up. It's a little bit complicated with all of the ins and outs on it, but in the end, I think what we'll be recommending is for these tier 2 non-public safety employees is to increase, separate from any merit or COLA, increase 0.7% on their salary. They will then have to opt into this deduction where that is money after tax that goes back to URS. And then if the city does that, the one downside, well, there's a couple downsides. One is that we cannot lower that in a future year. That is a contribution that has to be maintained in perpetuity by those employees. So they have to continue to contribute that 0.7 every year unless there's some state legislation that changes, which we hope the league will take this up and so that we don't have to go through the employee's paycheck. The other thing that causes a problem, sorry, I don't have this chart readily available. Those of you that have been here a while, you may recall we have a range and pay step program that has 12 steps, has a ranges where each job is classified on a certain pay range. This 0.7% increase kicks employees into a different pay step. And so we will technically now have to track 2 pay steps, for one for everybody else and one for tier 2 non-contributory employees. And so it's just a pain. There were some charts here and things. I don't know if any of you watched the presentation we had a link to. That was the first that I really had information on, but basically they're saying, for these tier 2, essentially their graph was looking at this, the liability that the URS has is the red, the actual anticipated assets that they would have and money to pay out was the green, and so they're looking for this shortfall. So graphically just kind of giving that to you as an update. Some of the things that have caused this, essentially their actuaries are estimating based on salaries, there's a certain percentage that entities are required to pay into the URS system. And we've had some increases over the years with inflation where salaries have increased. Those newer years are higher than the older years of these 10 or so years that they're looking at. And so increasing wages has led to increasing payouts in pension. So that's kind of what's causing this. So there's a lot of information that I threw at you in these slides, and if you watch that presentation, maybe that helped. Any questions on what's going on here?
What's the dollar amount without the savings from the decrease? What's just the dollar amount for the 0.7?
So on, let's see, I don't know if I have that broken out exactly, just the 0.7. So if you look at line C, this would be the T1 to your tier 1 decreasing 1%, and then the tier 2 non-public safety increasing. So it's probably that difference between 18 and 7 right there. Because B is just the tier 1 decreasing by 1%.
Are these in
This is,
numbers? Or those aren't in thousands?
I don't think those are in thousands.
We're talking about $11,000?
Yeah,
That seems too low.
that does seem low, doesn't it?
It's not this C section over here?
I don't think so.
I think
This is
that's
the,
just
oh,
the
this is the
variance
variance,
from
I'm
A.
sorry. Kristen prepared this for me, and I obviously didn't look it through. That is the difference. So you're correct. So it is C, it is the difference then between this and T1 is the increasing, and this, does that look right? Which still is only that dollar amount. Maybe that is it, Jake. So this is total, what we're paying using our current rates, what we're looking at paying next year for all of the URS contributions. With all of these changes, this is where we would end up. So I think that is the actual numbers.
employees do we have? What percentage of our employees fit into T2 non-police or non-public safety?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
That number seems really low.
Yeah, it does. So I'll double check this with Kristen.
Okay.
But,
It seems like it would be every employee after 2011 or whatever.
well,
that
it would
did.
be, I just don't know what that percentage is on our split, but offhand, I would guess that we have more T1 employees, tier one.
A lot of long.
Yeah. So just as an FYI, statewide, in one of their slides, they actually showed, this is changing. So the blue is tier one, so as people retire, those are shrinking, and just this last 2022, tier twos now exceed the tier ones. So that's the total number. So over 110,000 people in the state pension plan.
The pension plan is remind me what the payout is.
So for tier one, it is 2% per year of service, and you can't access that until you have 30 years of service. You can buy out, basically you're paying some of your retirement to buy out a couple of years, 2 or 3 years. I think you can buy out early. Can you do up to 5? But so for those that only work for a few years, you're not vested until you have 4 years in the system. So if you come and go and leave, it just goes into the funds.
Then it's a 60%.
60% for the tier one. On the tier two, there's actually 2 different plans that they can select. One is 100% 401k. There's no pension. The other plan that they can pick is a hybrid between a pension and a 401k. And it's a lesser percentage by quite a bit, but I don't know that off the top of my head. So it's 1-point-something% that goes into the pension.
A question for you, and I may
Per year.
have this completely wrong. I had thought that the tier one, what they had in place, and they realized that it was probably financially not sustainable. And so I thought the tier two came about with the idea that as the money goes in there, it'll be whatever it is with no guarantee. Like on the tier one, the pension, you do your years, whatever it is, and that's what you get forever and ever. But
That's if they chose the 401k option only. And so there's a hybrid plan where they have a pension, but it's a smaller percentage per year of employment. And I could look that up here if you give me a second, but, so there is still.
that'll be something I'll look
Yeah,
into.
a
just
tier
little
two,
bit
there's
better.
still a pension option. But
Component.
it's, yeah, and they have to work longer to get that. I think off the top of my head, it's now 34 years, and so before they can access those, unless they do an early buyout. So it was interesting, just as an FYI, this was, we've been hiring a new treasurer position, and we've advertised, and, I think over the years with our benefit package has become more similar to a lot of private industry. Government benefits have tended to lighten, to decrease, as wages have traditionally been less than private sector. We had an individual that applied as our payroll clerk and treasurer position and interviewed with us just the other day. And she was making $95,000 a year is what she provided to us. And our pay range tops out in the 90s. And so she had not been at the top of her range in the private sector, and seemed less interested in some of these benefits. And so we really need to do, I think, as statewide, do better to market the benefits that we do have, particularly the pension. This is huge, where for life, you have a pension if you are in this system for a long time. And so after 15 years, you get spousal benefits, which is huge. And so if I were to die, I've had more than 15 years in the system, my wife would get, at the certain age that she can draw on retirement, she would get my pension. And to me, that's a huge benefit. But again, something that newer, single, younger employees tend not to value as much.
What did you just say,
So,
100
yeah.
years?
And so, So a very cool package, if people take advantage of it and participate, but they really need to sit down and understand those benefits, so bottom line, what I expect we'll be doing in some upcoming public meetings, if you're comfortable with this approach, we would like to recommend applying that 0.7% increase to the Tier 2 non-public safety, and then recommend covering and picking up the public safety increase, so that employees don't feel like that's a pay cut.
But putting it into their benefit package, not
Goes to-
necessarily their wage.
Goes to, well, with the 0.7, it has to go into their paycheck, and then they have to contribute back to URS.
So there's nothing to stop them from getting that 0.7 and then choosing not to opt in?
I would expect that URS is gonna make this mandatory in some fashion, that if they don't do that, then their pension's in jeopardy. So I don't know how that's gonna play out. That seems tricky to me. So we're gonna have to put it through their paycheck and then deduct it somehow, is what I think is gonna happen. So the employer would most likely have to do that and then remit it back to URS.
As I serve on the Mountain Land Association of Governments Board, they're tasked with, they handle hundreds of millions of dollars here in our region. I've been serving on the Budget and Audit Committee, and one of the things that we've discussed just along those lines of employees really understanding how rich the benefits are is starting to inform them of their position, their total compensation package, not just the salary, but the total compensation package. How much is going into your 401k that you don't have to match? How much is your pension, your dental, medical, eye care benefits, and putting a dollar figure around that, or their paid time off, how that, anyway, that's something that I think all government institutions are feeling a little bit of pressure of competing with the private sector, because the private sector might have a bright, shiny penny of a higher salary, but when you take the total compensation package, it's really on par, if not even better, when you look to a pension. Those don't exist anywhere else, hardly at all. So that's pretty incredible. I remember, private sector companies back in our parents' and grandparents' day might have a spousal benefit to take care of the spouse when one passes away. And I mean, that, like Adam said, that's an amazing total compensation package benefit that maybe we need to help inform those that work for us or that we're attracting for new positions to value and understand.
Yeah, that chart you're pulling up there, Adam, the when can I retire?
So it's actually 35 years of service with Tier 2.
But there's some other things there, 65 with this or 62
Right.
with that and 60 with.
And just for the record, for any public that are watching, we as a council do not receive any city employee benefits. We are not benefited in our position. But as fiduciaries of the city budget and services, this is something that is part of our responsibility to determine and kind of legislate, so.
Adam, did you say something about there's the 0.7 would be added, but then taxes?
It is after tax, and so they are taxed on that 0.7. And then that is what has been explained to us by URS. There's some loopholes that didn't get filled in the tax code that they said this has to go after tax. And so I am not certain on how it's all being remitted back to the state.
We should probably reach out to the league and ask them to have this be a topic at the league breakouts.
Yeah, that'd be a great
for
idea.
their council to get on this. And
URS has had a few
Yeah.
online things. That one that I sent you was the first presentation that I had been part of and participated in. I was there in person. They did another online meeting here just last week that they haven't posted that had a lot more specific details, but still didn't have all of these types of administrative questions answered. So
Could you extend the timeline for me? So if the city picked it up, it would be 0.7 or 2.14 for until legislation changes that. it'd be an open-ended commitment.
It is an open-ended commitment. The only thing that may change would be whether or not it has to go through their paycheck for the non-public safety.
Okay.
So we would be, if we commit to do this, then we are covering that shortfall in perpetuity until they feel like it is no longer needed.
And is the
So-
timeline on this also, is their fiscal budget matching ours July
This
through
will be
June?
effective the first pay period in July.
Okay, so that's our
Yeah.
timeline too.
So
figure
we
it
would
out.
adopt something as part of our budget hearings, and so we have a hearing in May and another one in June.
And if we didn't pick it up, then it would be like a pay cut. It would be experienced as a pay cut.
Essentially,
And
What's
if
take
they
home?
did not contribute that 0.7, they wouldn't have access to that benefit, essentially. Is it
well,
like,
that's what I would expect, but my assumption, again, I'm not quite sure how this is gonna get administered. My assumption is this is gonna probably be treated, now I just went blank, there's a term, a phrase that you use, a garnishment, that an employer has to garnish somebody's wages if they've had a judgment against them or for certain purposes. So my assumption is this will be treated like a garnishment. So we would essentially cut the paycheck, and then we are putting that money in the paycheck, and then on the next paycheck, we're withholding a certain amount, is how I would think that has to be attributed, because otherwise Lincoln's scenario is absolutely correct.
yeah.
Thousands of employees just won't pay it.
Yeah.
And so I can't imagine that would happen. And so my assumption is they're gonna somehow make the employers have to garnish wages.
One thing that maybe we could explore is just instead of having it be a set increment with every paycheck, would there be a workaround of being stuck with this to do like a one-time little bonus at the end of the year or something to treat it like a reimbursement, but a one-time bonus that's not compounding or adding to their salary?
I
We've
don't
done
know.
that in the past for people that were topped out on their matrix.
Yeah, we have to remit this monthly, so I'm not sure.
Employee would have it coming out of their paycheck monthly, but at some point we did a one-time,
Oh, after the
Bonus.
fact?
yes, after the fact.
So then it wouldn't be a
I-
deduction.
That, until that period happens, then I think it would still be perceived as a pay cut then, but
I mean, they would get,
Has there ever been a city that requires the employees to participate in that cost?
yes, there are, one of the options that was available when entities first opted into URS, they could have a contributory plan where employees had to participate a certain percentage, or a non-contributory plan where the city covered, or whatever entity covered all of it. And most cities and other entities have a non-contributory plan.
Is there any option to change that? I think in the private sector, it's a match on a 401k. You have to participate, and your employer participates with you. Is there any options to do that if
I
we
don't
were to
think
ever to get to that
I don't
point?
think we can legally do that.
Okay.
So we do have, in addition to the pension plan, there is another benefit that is provided separate from this, where we have a 1.5% 401k that we will match if the employee adds an additional 1.5%. So in addition to the pension, there is a 401k that's specific, unique to Lindon City.
Right.
Other entities are doing similar things. But so for that, if they want a 3% match from the city, they have to contribute the 1.5.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty minor thing in the grand scheme of things, so.
This is an incredible benefit. It makes me so angry I'm not a government employee, because goodness, it's just the greatest benefit ever. I agree. Let's make sure our employees know how generous it is. What is it that we pay per employee as a city to make this possible? Is it 16?
It depends on the tier 1 or tier 2, and it depends on public safety versus non-public safety. And
Right.
so on the slides here, this is a little bit hard to read. So for tier 2, we are paying on the hybrid plan, or the defined, there's the DC plan versus the DB defined benefit, or versus the, I'm not sure, Jake, off the top of my head.
Going back to that where we got our 11,000, is that the total number to our budget, the million?
Yes, this is what we pay out. This is projected in,
So as a city, we
Fiscal
pay
year
in
25.
1.2, almost 1.2
to URS.
to
year.
URS for our employees to have this benefit.
Yeah.
The mayor's proposal was interesting to me, actually. If there is a way of working around the negative of being locked in, to have there be another mechanism to pay them in a bonus fashion. I mean, it would take some discussion to say it might feel like a deduction, but if at the end you end up zeroing out, is that, I mean, that could, if that's feasible, would it
I
be
can ask.
even
Let-
easier?
Let me,
Might be some
I don't want
legal,
to make any
Yeah, it
promises
seems
until we
easier.
see how this is going to be administered by the state, and so.
But that would be interesting.
Man.
all right. Any further questions? All right,
Well, are you okay with the city essentially paying those costs? Those
Yeah, I would
increases?
be curious about the details of the mayor's proposal, but it's still in the same spirit of the city picking up.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's primarily what I needed, so.
I think so. Is there any,
I'll send out a document that has all those contribution rate percentages.
have you heard about any other cities, what they're planning on doing?
I have not. So other than what the state has already adopted,
Which is to pick it up.
yeah. And so this is really fresh. And so URS, the link, these slides were from a meeting about 2.5 weeks ago. They had another online meeting a week ago. And I think a lot of entities, there was 250 entities on the call. And everybody's trying to figure out how to now make this work, so.
it's always a scramble after every legislative session
I
to
know,
pick
but-
up the pieces. We have about 30 seconds left to go to be on the dot of an hour of the meeting. Any further discussion or questions? Don't want to rush you.
Was that when we started or when Jake showed up?
Hey, see, I got an extra 3 minutes, so. I gotta get my hour in.
It would be wonderful to have Utah Leagues address
In a
this.
word,
be
we'll
nice.
put in a word.
As a cheap
All right,
shot.
Van. are you
Motion
ready?
to adjourn.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Broderick,
Second.
seconded by arm wrestle. Okay, Councilmember Stewart, all in favor to adjourn.
Aye.
I liked what the guy said on the video about
On the dot.
the session and how many bills. I tend to agree with him, like,
Yeah, they were
I
over
saw.
over 600.
stop making up bills, stop
Yeah.
doing too many things.
I saw a
Alan, what do you think of that theme I came up with?
comment on, it was in one of the, I think it was in the Tribune,
corny.
that said, given the
It's corny,
session
but it might work.
hours, with the number of bills that they had, it was less than 3 minutes of discussion per bill,
Oh, yeah,
so.
yeah.
Crazy.
I know
Yeah, I'll get that. I mean, like on this, for the hybrid option on tier 2, it's 10% that we pay. And then for the other option, it's a different percent, but then it's different for public safety. And so, sorry, I don't know all of those off the top of my head.
That number, 11,000 seems so low. I thought we were
It does, but if we're only paying $1 million,
So it is legit.
0.7%, that might be the right number.
maybe we can get the audience.
I'll find out. Of just the tier 2, non-public safety.
That's fine, that's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yes.
Did you write that out?
Did I just nail you?
Yeah.